Hello, today I'm going to talk to you about controlling behaviour and coercive control. So first of all, in your book or notepad, if you don't have your PSHE book, I just want you to complete the following tasks. List any features of positive relationships. So for example, they might give acts of kindness or be really supportive. Any features of negative relationships that you might think of. For example, somebody might become easily jealous. And then I want you to write down what you think a definition of controlling behaviour is. So just pause the video and complete the do now. So some keywords we're going to look at today are control. That means the power to influence or direct people's behaviour over the course of events. Coercive, if you coerce somebody, that means you are using force or threats to get them to do it. And our behaviour is the way in which someone conducts themselves. So on the board, I put down 4 words: assault, harassment, stalking, and blackmail. And what I want you to do is think about what is it that links these words. So I'll give you 20 seconds to think about that. Well, these words are all examples of criminal behaviour that might take place in a relationship. And today what we're going to do is look into these controlling behaviours a little bit further. Controlling behaviour is a form of harmful behaviour in a relationship aimed at making someone feel subordinate, so that means less important, and or dependent, meaning they feel they're reliant on that person. For example, they might feel it's impossible to leave a relationship because they need the other person and they wouldn't be able to cope on their own. For example, using some of these behaviors, someone might blackmail into this position. So they might say, if you leave the relationship, I'm going to withdraw all your money. Or if you leave this relationship, I'm going to do this, tell everybody about this. What I want you to do is think back to those other 4 ideas and think about what might this look like in a relationship. I'll give you 20 seconds now just to think about and make a note of what might these things look like. Well, they could look like isolating your people from sources of support. They could be exploiting, that means taking advantage of their resources or capacities. So that could be financial or emotional or physical, for example, taking people's phones, etc. Depriving them of the means needed for independence, resistance, and escape. So, for example, you make them entirely reliant on you. And regulating their everyday behaviour, controlling them, telling them what they can and can't do, checking their phone, that type of thing. So let's have a look now at some ideas and think about whether they are controlling. Someone cares about the way they look and expects their partner to do the same. If their partner doesn't look good in what they're wearing, they will say so and suggest something better. It's not controlling, it's just caring. Do you agree or disagree with that statement? Hopefully you will disagree. This does show signs of controlling behaviour. It's regulating their behaviour and it's trying to get them to conform into a certain way because you don't like that item of clothing. You don't want them to wear that item of clothing. And in that way, you're trying to take away potentially their individuality and conform to a version of somebody that you want them to be. If your partner is constantly checking your location on Snap Maps and messaging you when you go somewhere that you haven't mentioned to them, that's an unhealthy form of control. You shouldn't be virtually followed everywhere. Do we agree or disagree with that? Hopefully you will agree. This shows signs of controlling behaviour if someone is checking where you are all the time and questioning where you are and why you are there. It's depriving them of their need for independence. Let's look at another one. If someone criticises their partner's friends and family all the time, trying to suggest they shouldn't see them, I think it's a really unhealthy sign. Do you agree or disagree with that statement. Hopefully you will agree with that statement. It's really unhealthy if someone is criticizing your friends and family and trying to turn you against them. That's a very toxic trait that we should look out for. It's isolating you from your support network. If someone in the bank is the bank account holder and is making sure all the wages go into the account and bills are paid out, this is really helpful. Even if you have to ask for some spending money every now and again. So think about if you're in a relationship with someone, they're controlling all the money and you're having to ask them for spending money. Obviously, this is really unhealthy. It's not helpful. It's not what makes a positive relationship. This shows signs of controlling behavior as you're exploiting their resources. You earn money, that money is yours to choose what you want to do with it. Nobody else should be telling you how you should spend your money. So coercive control is an act or pattern of acts such as assaults, threats, humiliation, intimidation used to harm, punish, or frighten someone. Coercive and controlling behavior is always wrong and can be a criminal offence. So that definition is really important. Please write that down into your book. You might want to pause the video now to do that. What we're going to have a look at now is a scenario based on two characters, Joseph and Nikki. What I want you to do when you read the scenario is list any examples of controlling behavior. A reminder that this is isolating them, exploiting their resources or capacities, depriving them of the means needed for independence, resistance, and escape, and regulating their everyday behavior. So when you're reading the scenario, you might want to think about these four ideas. So it might be that you want to pause the video and bullet point these four ideas down in your book. So when the scenario comes on your screen, you're able to apply these scenarios to these ideas to the scenario. Okay, what I'd like you to do now is to just pause the video when I finish speaking, read the scenario, and although it says underline, I want you to list these ideas, any sentences that suggest where the relationship is controlling and why. Which of these ideas is it that is appearing in the video? So I'm going to give you I'll give yourself about 5 minutes to do that. So pause the video now and complete that task. Okay, let's have a look at some of these examples. Nikki likes to surprise Joseph at home so they can walk to school together. Here, Nikki is depriving Joseph of his independence. So that could be a sign of controlling behavior. Because on some occasions, Joseph might want to not walk with Nikki, and they should be able to pre-plan when those occasions will be. And it could be that this means that eventually Joseph has no freedom, no chance to kind of do things that he wants on his own, and he loses his sense of independence. Nick always likes to message Joseph to check how he is and when he is leaving so they can walk home together. Again, Nikki is regulating Joseph's behaviour, or could start to be doing this, and depriving him of his independence. It could turn to eventually he's checking up on him and asking why he's not left yet and things like that. Could be again that if he constantly wants to walk home with him and spend too much time with him, this is too much, this is too intense, and Joseph might lose his sense of independence and feel that he is almost suffocated in the relationship. Another one, Nikki explains he feels quite upset that perhaps Joseph is still looking for someone else to be in a relationship with. Joseph offers to delete some of his online friends and Nikki thanks him. So here, Nikki is isolating Joseph from any means of support and depriving him of his independence. And again, he's interfering with his friendships. So the key idea from this scenario is that this is very, very subtle. Abusive behavior in relationships, including criminal behavior, can be very subtle. So that means not very obvious. These things can kind of quietly creep in. They don't need to be a big obvious act of kind of stealing someone's phone or having a big argument. These behaviours are subtle, so they're not obvious, and we need to look out for them. And people may justify them as about being love or care. So I'm caring for you by making you walk home for me every day. I'm caring for you by giving you spending money and controlling all our money. I'm protecting you by not letting you see your family and friends because I think they're bad for you. These are signs that we must look out for, as these are controlling signs of a relationship, and we must be aware of them. This is also clear in social media, because social media gives people access to a lot of information. I just want you to pause and reflect on whether you think having access to all of this information has caused more unhealthy control in relationships. It's really important that in a relationship, both parties show mutual respect towards each other. What I want you to do now is just pause the video and write a response to this question. What could they have done differently in these scenarios? Because it could be argued that some of Nikki's actions are down to him being naive and the fact that they're in a secret relationship with each other. So how might they go about navigating early on some of these issues so that they don't feel so potentially this control doesn't happen? Where could Joseph potentially stop and intervene? And what should Nikki do to ensure that he isn't controlling the relationship? It's really important that we have mutual respect. I would say that Nikki needs to take a step back and show Joseph trust and respect. It's important that both of them find someone outside the relationship to confide in and share their behaviours. Nikki might not realise what he is doing is controlling, and someone else could point this out to him. If Joseph does not feel confident enough to stand up to Nikki, he needs to speak to a trusted adult. So in reflection, controlling behaviour is harmful to any kind of relationship. Coercive behaviour is an act which humiliates or intimidates someone, and abusive behaviour can be subtle and justified as love or caring for someone. You should speak to a trusted person if you are ever worried about yourself or a friend. The final task then of thinking about the signs of a controlling relationship. I'd like you to create a poster advertising to people what they can do if they're a victim of a controlling relationship. Think about what are the signs of a healthy relationship people should look out for. What are the signs of control are, and also what coercive control is. So you should pause the video and spend about 10 minutes completing this task.